Good day, subscribers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Levi. This is the Cybersecurity Education channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. Today we're going to be talking about the top 5 tips that you can do to protect yourself in 2019. We'll be going through the different things here, which each item that I go through, I'll be talking about the specific risks that applies to you in 2019, and I'll be talking about what these items can do to help protect you from that risk in 2019. Some of these things I've already done a video in more description talking about them, so I'll post a link down below in the description so you guys can take a look at that. And if I do a video on any of these things in the future, I'll try to update the description down below so that you guys can see this if you happen to come back to this video in the future. So hope you guys really enjoy this content. Let's go ahead and get started. So the number one thing in 2019 that will help you is using a password manager. And the problem that we have in 2019 that password manager will be very helpful to you for is the fact that we have all these data breaches going on. If you do a Google search, you'll see, I mean, we've had tons and tons of data breaches. It's probably to the point where it's once a week, and heck, it might even be daily at this point, of just giant data breaches. And the problem is that all of these passwords are being combined into these giant databases where attackers can go and search those. And the statistics show that the majority of people use the same password for every website. So a password manager comes in to solve this issue because it makes it super simple for users to use a different password and a strong password on every website that they use. So if you have a password that gets compromised, then only that password is compromised. And if you're using a password manager, you're only going to get compromised on that one site. So then you just have to go and update the password on that site and you're good to go, right? If you don't have a password manager and you're using the same password for every website, then boom, all of your accounts are at risk, and you'll have to go and change the password for all those sites. And if you don't know about it, all of those sites can be compromised then, right? So a password manager is probably the most critical thing in 2019 because of this. Number 2 kind of relates to the same thing, multi-factor authentication. The big problem here in 2019 is data breaches as well. With all of the data breaches going on, when your password gets compromised, the attacker has that password and they can get into your account. If you have multi-factor authentication set up, they're not only going to have to break into that password, they're going to have to break into the second factor that you set up, or the third factor, depending on how many factors you were able to set up on that site. And it just makes it harder for an attacker to get in your account. And you know, like I talked about on previous videos, security is all about making things harder for the attacker. And the harder you are, the more likely you're going to be less of a target. So that's why multi-factor is so important in 2019. The number 3 thing is 3-2-1 backup solution. The big problem in 2019 that this thing will solve is ransomware. For those of you that don't know what ransomware is, it's basically you go click a link in an email, or you install an application on your phone or your computer, and you get infected with ransomware. Ransomware goes and installs itself on your system and encrypts all of your files. And you aren't able to access those files unless you put a password, unless you have a password to put in. And the only way that you get the password is to pay the rogue organization that released the ransomware a certain amount of ransom. And if you don't pay this, you won't have access to your files, and sometimes they have timers on them, and then you can't get into your files if you don't pay it within a certain amount of time. So going back to the 3-2-1 backup solution here, it solves this problem because backups are the only real solution to ransomware without having to pay the ransom, which I highly suggest not doing, because by paying the ransom, you're helping the person that released the ransomware, right? And then it just encourages them to do it more. So a 3-2-1 backup solution basically means that you have 3 backups, and you have on 2 different forms of media, and you have 1 offline. So in my specific situation, what I do is I have a backup program and this backup program is installed on all my devices. I have my own server set up, and all of these devices, they go and back up to this. And this always has a backup. It backs up daily. So then I always have a backup on this NAS. It's just a server that I set up that just basically contains backups. And then once a week, I take an external hard drive, I plug it into my NAS, I run the backup, and then I take that external hard drive and put it in a safe. So then that thing is secure, it's offline. It's not, the ransomware isn't going to affect that if these systems up here get hit. And then not only, as I'm doing this, not only do I have this going on, as stuff is getting backed up to my network attached storage here, I also have a client on this where it's backing it up out in the cloud. So then I have a cloud copy. This stuff right here, it won't protect you in a ransomware situation. The only thing that's going to protect you is this offline copy that's in the safe. But this stuff right here will protect you, like if you had a fire or something, or if you had a tornado hit your place, you got a cloud copy. And this here protects you. If your hard drive dies on one of these devices, you still have your data on here. So having this 3-2-1 backup solution here, it really helps protect you in multiple different situations. It helps protect you in ransomware. It helps you protect in disasters. And the biggest thing I want to point out with the offline copy here is you got to set a frequency for the offline copy that matches your needs for the data. So if you're a business and you need that data and you can't afford to lose more than a day's worth of data, then you need to be setting up that backup drive that you have, whether it's a tape or a hard drive or whatnot. And you need to be plugging it in and backing it up every day. Or, you know, if you decide, hey, I can afford to lose a month's worth of data, so then you'd only plug it in once a month and such. So you just really have to decide what you can afford to lose and then plug in that external device and back it up on that frequency. Number 4 thing in 2019 that you can do to protect yourself is to make sure that your systems and your applications are getting their updates and they're getting updated. There's so many vulnerabilities out there that are getting tacked on laptops, desktops, phones, tablets, and all the applications inside of there. And the only way to protect yourself from those is to update your applications, to update your phones, to update your tablets and your desktops and stuff like that. And if you don't get the updates, then you're a free target for anybody that's exploited those. There was an incident not too long ago where the WhatsApp application had an issue where somebody could call your WhatsApp app, you didn't have to answer it, and then they could go ahead and listen to all your conversations. And the only way to fix that was to update your application. If you haven't done that yet, people can call into your device and listen to your application. So that's just a good example of why you should do this. The final thing that you can do to protect yourself in 2019 is to control your information. The problem that we're having in 2019 is, you know, everybody's out on social media and everybody wants to share as much as they can about themselves out to the world so that the world can see how cool you are. And so that people will smash that like button. So you just have to be really careful about what information you're sharing about yourself, because that information can be used to compromise your identity. So, and it can also be used to break into accounts, depending on what security questions you have set on those sites. Be careful what you're sharing out there on social media. If you can, try to make your social media accounts private. I know it's a tough thing to do because we're all great people and we want everybody else out in the world to know that we're great people as well. But you have to always have in the back of your head when you're sharing information, what can this type of information do to compromise my identity or any accounts that I have? So you just have to constantly think about that all the time and do the best that you can to limit how much you're sharing and also be able to promote yourself at the same time. Finally, one last thing that I want to make a point on that is information such as your social security number, your birth date, your location. You really want to be super extra careful about how you share this information, because this information is critical to recovering accounts and it can be critical to falsely impersonating you. So I have a video that I'll tag above and then I'll put down in the description below talks about my experience with a landlord that wanted me to text my rental application that had all this critical information on it, including my social security number and all my previous addresses. Well, that was a terrible method of sending it to her. You can watch the video to learn more. It specifically talks about rental applications, but it can apply to securely sending information to a lot of different uses. If you do need to share your information, be careful about how you send it. And then also be careful about what you're giving, you know, like a social security number. I've had several places where I go, clinics and stuff like that, where I'll go in and they'll have social security number on the sheet. And then I ask them about it and they're like, oh, we're just doing this because we've always done this. And you know, in that situation, you don't write the number down. Always question when somebody's asking for your social security number or some type of piece of information. I hope this video really helps you guys. By following these 5 steps, you should really set yourself up to limit your risk for things like identity theft, for your accounts getting compromised, and for your data getting lost or you getting locked out of your data because of ransomware. So, hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a great day.